The first strike was verbal, and it landed with precision. Her mother pointed a finger across the dinner table and said it loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "This man disgusts me." Forks froze midair. Conversation stopped. My wife, Laura, didn't flinch. She just turned to me, barely masking the embarrassment on her face, and said, "Just apologize." I looked around the table. Laura's parents, her brother and his wife, her aunt from Connecticut who once told me I looked like someone who settled. I'd cooked the roast they were eating. I'd paid for the wine they were drinking. And now, I was being asked to apologize for simply existing. I stood up, quietly. No anger, no raised voice. "I think I'm done here." Nobody stopped me. Not Laura. Not even her father, who used to call me son. I didn't make a scene. I walked out, got in my car, and drove off. I never returned. They didn't know it yet, but that night was the final chapter. Not just of the dinner. Of me. Of who I had been. Because everything that followed, the silence, the fallout, the unraveling, was already in motion. 3 months earlier, I started preparing for this. Not because I expected the outburst, but because I stopped being blind to the pattern. Laura had changed. Slowly at first. Less eye contact. More nights away. Then came the dismissiveness. The way she laughed a little too hard at her family's jokes about me. The way she never defended me, not even when the jabs got personal. The worst part wasn't the insult. It was her silence. I started watching. Passwords were easy. She used the same one for everything. Her phone, her email, her cloud backups. Within 2 weeks, I had the whole story. The man's name was Derek. Tech consultant. Divorced. She met him at some corporate retreat in Aspen, the same one I paid for. Their messages started tame, then graphic, then cruel. She told him things she never told me. That I was too nice. That I lacked ambition. That I was just a placeholder until she figured things out. What they didn't know was that I'd already figured them out. I didn't react. Didn't confront. I observed. I documented. Screenshots. GPS logs. Financial transfers. I even knew the dates she booked hotels and when Derek used his business card to cover her spa treatments. But I needed more than anger. I needed leverage. So I waited. I began moving money, slowly, silently, out of our joint accounts. Not into obvious places. Into layered entities. Shell companies I'd formed over the last year. All legally structured. All tied to a trust under a different name. The trust? Built to protect future intellectual property. The reality? It held every liquid asset we shared. Laura never noticed. She had stopped noticing anything about me months ago. Then I went deeper. Her family liked to act superior. Old money types clinging to decaying trust funds and country club legacies. But I'd been doing their taxes for years. Laura's dad practically begged me to handle the estate when their accountant died. I took full advantage. In the weeks before that dinner, I moved control of certain investments. Shifted clauses in dormant trusts. Registered new rights on jointly held properties. All legal. All clean. All in line with previous family plans. They signed paperwork without reading. Just like they always did. So when her mother pointed and screamed, when Laura told me to apologize, I realized something strange. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. Because I no longer needed them. Not their approval. Not their fake warmth. And certainly not Laura. That night, I checked into a hotel under a different name. A name tied to one of the new companies I quietly registered months ago. I didn't go back for clothes. Not even a toothbrush. Over the next 2 weeks, they texted, called, left voicemails. At first, it was confusion. Then irritation. Then concern. I replied to none of it. Instead, I mailed Laura one thing. A notarized document voiding her power of attorney over my holdings. Enclosed was a letter. 1 sentence long. You'll understand soon. I knew it would be her brother who discovered it first. The bank accounts frozen under review. The house titles mysteriously shifted to a holding trust. The passive income streams redirected. And soon, Laura's boutique, the one I funded, the one she bragged was self-made, would lose its largest silent investor. Me. The silence wouldn't last forever. They'd dig. They'd connect the dots. But by then, I'd be gone, not just from the house, but from the version of myself that tolerated their contempt. And when they finally found out where I'd gone, and what I'd taken with me, they'd realize the cost of that one dinner, that one insult, that one man they thought would stay quiet forever. It took them 6 days to notice. The first to call was Laura's brother, Andrew. He left a message sounding half confused, half accusatory. Hey, not sure what's going on, but the rental income from the vacation properties didn't hit. Dad says you handled that. Call me. I didn't call, but I listened. Every word was exactly what I expected. Next came her mother, the same woman who called me disgusting. Her voice was shrill now, panicked. We can't access the trust. Your name is still on the documents. What did you do? What I did was simple. I removed myself, physically, legally, financially. But before I did, I rewired every structure I'd ever built for them. Years ago, I made the mistake of wanting to belong. So I gave my time, my knowledge, my access. They let me handle their finances because they were lazy, arrogant, assumed I'd always be there, quietly managing the system they never bothered to understand. They were wrong. Laura's boutique was the first domino. I had registered the trademark under a holding firm, transferred the lease to another entity. The supplier contracts? Personally guaranteed by me. When I pulled out, penalties triggered instantly. Within 72 hours, the boutique closed. Inventory repossessed. Staff unpaid. Laura tried calling 12 times in one day. I didn't pick up. Instead, I sent her a single email with the subject line, "The Exit." Inside was a detailed breakdown. What was hers? What wasn't? A list of every asset I had removed myself from. The shell companies I created. The ones that now controlled the family's precious properties. And at the end, I attached one photo. It was her, at that corporate retreat, sitting on Derek's lap, laughing, drink in hand. A selfie she didn't know he took, the one I'd found in her cloud archive. No message, just the image. 2 hours later, I got a reply. No subject line, no body, just an empty email. The digital equivalent of a gasp. That same day, I met with a journalist. Someone I'd quietly kept tabs on, a freelancer who specialized in family finance scandals. I gave her everything. Public records, documents, a timeline. I didn't smear names. I just gave her the truth. She ran it 2 days later. The House of Cards. How a wealthy family lost everything to their own blind trust. The article didn't name me, but anyone who read it and knew them would connect the dots, especially when it mentioned the anonymous manager who legally withdrew from all operations weeks before the fallout. Laura's family wasn't just exposed. They were humiliated. The article was picked up by 2 local outlets, then a regional one. A private school pulled their niece's scholarship after donations stopped. Her father's golf club suspended his membership. Her mother's charity gala was quietly canceled due to funding concerns. And still, I said nothing. The power of silence is underestimated. It doesn't just echo, it expands. Laura showed up at my office 3 weeks later. Yes, my office. One of the shell core I created had since become something real. An investment group. Legitimate. Profitable. Invisible. I built it with exiles like me, accountants, lawyers, engineers, all people who knew how it felt to be underestimated. When Laura walked in, she didn't recognize the place. I doubt she even believed I built it. She looked thinner, tired. That high-gloss polish she used to wear like armor had cracked. You destroyed us, she said. I didn't look up from my desk. No, I just stopped saving you. I didn't know, she started. I cut her off. You didn't want to know. She reached into her purse, pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was my watch, the one she gave me on our anniversary, engraved on the back, for the man who sees everything. I smiled. Ironic, isn't it? I said, standing. She looked up, eyes glassy. You didn't have to go this far. I stepped closer, voice low. You stood by while your mother called me disgusting. You told me to apologize. For what? For not being one of you? She didn't answer, so I handed her a second envelope. Inside, the final divorce papers. Already signed. Already filed. Her hands trembled. There's nothing left, she whispered. I met her eyes for the first time in weeks. That's what you said about me once. Turns out you were wrong. She left without another word. I stood by the window and watched her walk out of the building, past the security I hired, past the staff who knew me as the founder, not the quiet husband. And for the first time in years, I felt weightless. Not because I got revenge, but because I reclaimed my silence. My name. My direction. 3 months after the fallout, I moved to the coast. No farewell party. No social media update. Just a clean cut from the life that tried to keep me small. The money? Intact. More than that, thriving. The companies I built were lean, efficient, and invisible to the people who once measured me by the brand of my shoes or the silence in my voice. I didn't seek the spotlight. I became the man behind the curtain. But word still got out. They knew now. Laura's family, her friends, even Derek, who lost his job after his employer traced a corporate card misuse trail that led back to Aspen. I never tipped them off. I didn't need to. People with secrets tend to expose themselves when they panic. Laura tried to claw her way back into relevance. A podcast, a blog, even an interview where she painted herself as a victim of financial betrayal. I let her talk. The more she said, the worse she looked. The paper trail was airtight. Her signature on every document. Her name on every lease. Her face in every photo. Meanwhile, I stayed quiet. Focused. Built new alliances. Bought a few more shell core. Invested in failing companies that didn't know who their silent partner really was. Until I owned a piece of the firm that represented her during our divorce. Poetic, maybe. But I didn't do it for drama. I did it because they were good. Efficient. Ruthless. The kind of people I respected now. A year passed. I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. But I recognized the cursive immediately. Laura. Inside was a simple note. I finally understand what you meant. You didn't leave us. You just stopped pretending we were worth staying for. No apology. No excuses. Just clarity. Too late, but clean. I didn't reply. Instead, I put the letter in the fire and watched it burn, one neat corner at a time. I had nothing left to say. Because power isn't always about speaking. Sometimes, it's about walking away so completely that even your silence becomes a wall they can't climb. These days, I live alone. By choice. No lavish mansion. Just a modern, quiet house on a cliff, overlooking the ocean. I wake up early. I read. I build. I invest in people who were once where I was. Underestimated, overlooked, dismissed. I don't wear a wedding ring. I don't keep photos of the past. But I do keep the documents. Every legal form, every screenshot, every signature that told the story they tried to rewrite. Not as trophies. As reminders. That no one erases me. Not with a word. Not with a slap. Not with a table full of fake smiles and sharper knives. They thought I was weak because I didn't fight loud. They thought silence meant surrender. But silence is just the sound of patience preparing to win. And me? I won. Not by breaking them, but by never needing them again.